September the 13th, 2021. Guys, you're looking at the 5-day outlook from the National Hurricane Center. And a couple of good things that we're seeing is in the center of this image, this is the system that it does appear to be strengthening in the latest satellite images, but that cone is still staying offshore. That's a great sign. We don't know what will happen exactly, but the way the high pressure is trying to kind of pull back in the Atlantic, it makes sense. And we've got a few days to watch out for that, so I'm going to focus here on Nicholas. It's up to 65 miles per hour. The pressure's dropped to 1,000 millibars, and it has sped back up. Remember, in the video this morning, it was 5 miles per hour. And I was concerned about that speed, and the longer it sets over one area, the more the rain. Now, we're probably going to have some problems with this right now because of the track has changed for Nicholas. Let's take a look at that. Now, if you remember the video from this morning, that I had said that because the track was not along the coast like it is now, that possibly South Louisiana, which needed the rain probably the least of anybody on the planet right now, may be spared from not the rain out in front, which is already starting, and you can see that it won't even be near Baton Rouge to 1 a.m. Thursday. That's the center of circulation, so don't let these times fool you, because we here in central Mississippi at the very end of this track, we've been very cloudy for several hours, a couple of sprinkles coming through, and just letting you know it's setting up for a 4 or 5 day tropical event. I've been here a long time. So don't let the timing fool you on the rain, and I think that's going to be as important as anything else in the storm. Now, as you can see, again, 65 mile per hour winds. It was 60 miles an hour this morning. And they are anticipating at least hurricane wind gust, because you see in the blue line, this is tropical storm warnings, and it overlays a pink line, which is a hurricane watch. So you're not only in gust, but it could strengthen before the center of circulation comes ashore. But this bend to the right, instead of coming a little further north into Louisiana and Mississippi, now it's going to run along the coast a lot more. And what side of the storm is going to be close to the coast? It's the most dangerous, the northeast quadrant. But again, the rain has already started, so that's going to all add up as it moves ashore. So if you look at it now as it comes ashore here in central Texas, then a lot of the storm bending in here is going to affect Houston. It's going to affect Lake Charles. It's going to affect Baton Rouge and New Orleans, and then into central Mississippi. But the main thing we need to watch tonight. So again, this is 4 p.m. update this afternoon. This is Central Time. You notice in the bottom left. So it's going to come ashore sometimes tonight, not very far away. And by 1 p.m. Tuesday, it's already well ashore in Texas, just north of the Houston-Galveston area. So it's not moving fast. Even though now it's at 12 miles per hour, that's still not fast if you're a heavy rain event. Now, these are current images as of 5:50 p.m. Central Time, now as I'm doing the video. And you can see as the sun is setting, your satellite at the very right side is going to be changing to infrared. But this curve to the right, you can kind of see it in the motion of the storm. Right as it's starting to come to shore, you see more cloud formation, more wind shear, more movement to the right. So guys, you're just going to have to be prepared for this as it comes in overnight. Remember that you can have tornadoes, and you can have wind damage, as far as it doesn't take but just one heavy limb on your power poles. Be prepared for things like that, although some of the parts of Louisiana have been so hard hit that it's really, they're still trying to struggle and get back any semblance of normal life in a lot of places. No power means no water. That's getting better every day, but there's been, I think I heard an estimate of 40,000 that were the wooden poles that were destroyed, and that the transformers that were on these poles, guys, and this is critical for you to think about and I want you to pay very close attention to what I'm saying. All of those transformers cannot be replaced because they're from countries in the east across the Pacific Ocean, if you understand what I'm saying. So supplies are very limited. Some replacements will not be possible, and there's a 1-year order on these transformers that you see on the poles, and it is depending. In other words, it's 1 year out to get them if they're available. Now you're starting to see rain move into central Mississippi, Hattiesburg. You're probably starting getting some rain now, moving over into Alabama. But the area that the storm is affecting is very large. Look at the size of it. Look at it. So that's telling you there's a lot of moisture and a lot of energy. And so as it comes ashore, even as a tropical depression, we saw it with Ida going up into New York, Philadelphia, in that area. This time of the year, in the peak of hurricane season, you can see some devastating effects. And this storm, guys, you can look at it. It is obvious. It is very well developed. Notice, I mentioned this too, that the top right corner is the best place to see that it is pushing some of the West Coast wildfire smoke back north. Now, that's not good for you guys in South Carolina, North Carolina right now. Nothing we can do about that, but that's what we got, and that's what's happening now. I want to look at some of the rain warnings and the total amounts. Now, this was created at 4:01 p.m. this afternoon, and what they're showing is the risk of the flash flood risk of the next 3 days. And you can see from south of Houston to the entire Houston and Galveston Bay area, all the way to the border, I guess, Sabine River between Louisiana and Texas, 50% chance. Then you go to a 20% chance out of that up through Lake Charles over into south central Mississippi. Then it goes down after that. Now, this is through September the 16th, through 7 a.m. CDT through September the 16th. So that's 3 days out. And you remember that it's that would be Thursday and coming into where the storm is actually in central Mississippi. So we're going to just pay attention to it. Houston, right now it looks like, and it makes perfect sense that as the storm pulls ashore, that's going to be pulling a lot of moisture into your area. But 20% chance of flash flooding in Lake Charles and those areas south of New Orleans is still something to pay attention to. Another 4 p.m. advisory. Again, the storm surge, or peak storm surge, is still around 3.5 feet between Port O'Connor and San Luis Pass. And I guess that matches the earlier storm surge forecast because they were anticipating the development of the storm up to about 70 miles an hour. So not a lot has changed from Intercoastal City back through Rutherford Beach over towards Houston. You go from 1 to 3 feet to 2 to 4 feet, 3 to 5 feet between Port O'Connor and San Luis Pass. Then from there, 2 to 4 feet to Port Aransas. Buffin Bay, 1 to 3 feet, get further south towards the mouth of the Rio Grande, 1 to 2 feet. So you can see the entire coast, which is a very large coast, is affected of Texas and most of Louisiana. The flooding will extend further than the storm surge, so we got to pay attention. Now, this is the U.S. rainfall total. It's kind of like the flash flood time between 7 p.m. Monday through 7 p.m. Thursday, the next 3 days. So you're seeing in the orange areas 6 to 10 inches. In the yellow areas, 4 to 6, 2 to 4 offshore, and then along the Jackson, Mississippi, down to Mobile, over the Shreveport area. So it looks like it's really confined to the coastline more than the other places, but it's still going to, after this 3 days that you're seeing projected, it's going to go through Alabama and Georgia and the Carolinas. So we'll pay attention to it past that point, because we know now in this time of season, I said it before in the video, these things can do damage for 1,000 miles. It's happened before. Now, so just, you can see here, these are, again, estimated rainfalls. It depends on how this reacts with very warm waters in the Gulf overnight. And then you're going to have that trailing arm that we see behind these storms that's always pulling moisture in, and that's usually around the tornado band, right in there. The tornado is sometimes around the center of circulation, but a lot of times it will be in the outer storm bands to the right or the northeast quadrant of the storm. As we're watching it, you watch it, be prepared. Don't get caught off guard. It's a heads up. Be safe.